Hi, my name is Jennifer Mullins. I'm the owner of Mullins Tutoring Incorporated. Today I'm going to talk about division done 4 different ways. Today in schools, as there are many different ways that division is being taught to students, and sometimes it's for parents, it can be confusing. So what I'm going to do is go through 4 different ways that division is taught. The methods are called fair sharing. The second is area model. The third is the big 7, and then the last one would be the standard algorithm. So the first one we're going to talk about is fair share. And the number we're going to divide for all of the problems is the same. It's 433 divided by 5. In fair share, what we're going to do is we're going to create 5 columns because we're dividing it into 5 equal parts. And that's all division is breaking something up into equal parts. So the first number I'm going to look at is this 43. So I'm going to look at 5 and I'm going to start with 50s. So I'm going to put 50 because 5 times 100 is too much. So I'm going to have 5 groups of 50. And 5 times 50 is 250. So on the side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my number that I'm starting with. And I'm going to subtract 250. And one of the reasons that we do it this way is there's certain numbers that are very easy for students to multiply, such as 5s, 2s, 1s. Therefore, 20s, 50s, 100 are also easy to multiply because we're just adding a 0 or 2 zeros to the end. So now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract this 250 that we created in the first row of boxes from 433. So I'm going to have to borrow because the 3 is less than the 5. So 13 minus 5 is 8. And now I have 183. Well, if I did another set of 5 50s, that would be too much. So I'm going to go down to 20s. So now I'm going to do a row of 20s because 5 times 2 is 10. So 5 times 20 is 100. And that's less than 183, and I can subtract that. So now I've got 183 minus 100, and division is just repeated subtraction. So now we're going to have 83. So we know that we can't do 20 again because that's going to be 100, and that would be greater than this. So let's go down to tens. So I have 5 tens, and 5 times 10 is 50. So now I'm going to subtract 50 from 83, and I get 33. So now I want to look at my next number that I would look at, which would be 5. So as you can see, 5, 2, 1, 50, 20, 10, 5. So we're following a pattern. So I have another row of 5s. 5 times 5 is 25. When I subtract that, I have 8 left. Well, 5 can go into 8 one time each because 5 times 1 is 5. I'm going to subtract the 5, which leaves me with 3. Since 3 is less than 5, I'm done with the division. Now, how do I find out what is my answer with all these rows? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this first row, or first column, and this is going to be, I'm just going to add those numbers up. So I have 50 plus 20 plus 10 plus 5 plus 1, which gives me 86 with my remainder of 3. So 433 divided by 5 is equal to 86, remainder 3. So this does look like a lot of work, but what it's primarily showing is how does division work? So another way to look at it is called the area model, where we break this up into parts. And it's similar to the fair share, but now we're going to put the 433 in this box, and we're going to put the 5 on the side. So we're getting more, so it looks more like division. So 5 can go into 433 because we're looking just at that 43 5 times. So we're going to make that 50 because we have 433. So we would have 250. Once again, we're going to have to borrow, and we'd get 183. Now this time what we're going to do is we're going to put a plus sign in between. Every time we create a new box, we'll put a plus sign. Whatever the difference is, we'll bring it up into the new box. So 5 can go into 183 20 times, and we'd have 100. When we do the subtraction, we get 83. So it's very similar to the other one we just did. So now we have 83 in the box, and 10 times 5 is 50, and I would have 33. Another addition sign, and then the 33 is going to come up in the box. 5 can go into, now here we could either keep it at the 5 like we did in the last problem, or we could go, well, what times 5 is close to 33 without going over, and we could just say 6, but let's kind of keep it with what we did before. So here we would just say 5 times 5 is 25, and that's primarily because some students are still learning their multiplication problems. So we'd have to borrow from here, and I'd have my 8. And I'm going to put an addition sign and one last box. 5 times 1 is 5. I'm going to subtract it. And now once again, I've got that number that is less of my divisor, which is 3. So I'm done, but 3 would be left over. So now I'm going to add my numbers that I have along the top of the box. And I would get 86 again with the remainder of 3. So once again, I get the same answer. It's just a different method of doing it. Another method that you may see is called the Big 7. And so here we're going to look at, and it's 7 because that's what the division sign looks like. So I'm going to look at 5, and it can't go into 4, but it can go in to 43. So unlike the first two examples where I did a lot of different steps, I'm going to break these steps down a little bit less, and then we're going to get more towards the standard algorithm, which will be our last one. So I want to say what times 5 is close to 43 without going over. Well, 5 times 8 is 40. Therefore, 5 times 80 would be 400. So I'm just going to subtract 400 from 433, and I would have the difference would be 33. So now I'm going to look and say, all right, what times 5 will get me close to 33 without going over? Well, 5 times 6 is equal to 30. So now I'm going to just subtract the 30 from 33, and I would have 3 remainder. Once again, because 3 is less than 5, that's left over. I wouldn't be able to use it. What I'm going to now do is add these two numbers together. So I would end up with 86 remainder 3. And the last one is the standard algorithm. And that's what most of us are used to, where we would just look at this and say, all right, how many times can 5 go into 4? Especially for beginning students in division, I would recommend putting a 0 above the 4, and that's primarily so that they line the numbers up correctly. So now I'm going to just look at the 43. What times 5 is going to be close to 43 without going over? Well, 8 times 5 is 40. So I'm going to put the 40 down here. 43 minus 40 is 3. Bring down my 3. What times 5 gets me close to 33 without going over? And that would be 6. So 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract, and I have a remainder of 3. I hope you found this helpful at looking different ways to do division. For personalized tutoring online or in person, please contact me. I'm at my email address, or you can check out my website. Thank you so much.